Welcome back, Troglodytes, to your daily dose of guitar information, the Trogly's Guitar Show. When I say the company brand Orange, what do you think? If you're like most people, you think about amps and cabinets. This company has been around a long time. We're talking originally founded back in 1968 by Cliff Cooper. But did you know they also have a history of occasionally making guitars? I found a few interesting ones that I wanted to talk about today. First, let's start with the newest of the offerings. This is like brand new, just happened within the past couple of months. Orange has launched their own custom shop boutique level instruments. And this is what it looks like. It's kind of like a blend between some Gibson elements, some Gretsch, with just a bunch of retro vibes. You even get a little bit of like muscle car action going on along here. But yet the back is very plain and conventional. So let's go ahead and talk about this thing. So first off, where are these things being made if they're saying custom shop? Is it in the US? No, since Orange is located in the UK, these are UK-made custom shop level instruments. And they're having Jason Burns at a company called Blast Cult create these. So it seems to be more of a partnership between companies to make these Orange custom shop guitars come to life. Not necessarily that Orange is breaking down the doors, ready to start their own lineup of a whole bunch of different custom guitars. It appears that these are more so made to order depending on how much demand there might be. So all these photos we're looking at, that's just their prototype one, but you can buy it right now for $5,285. I don't believe that includes shipping costs, but it does include a hard shell case. So let's take a look here. The binding is checkerboard. That's pretty cool. You don't see that too often, and it works really well with this finish. And if you don't know what that means, it's kind of like a checkerboard. You get a black square, then a white square, and it's just an alternating pattern, and then it looks like it has a line underneath and on top of that. So it gives it an interesting boutique vibe to it. But take a look at these pickups. So these have a P90 route underneath them, but instead of actually putting a P90 pickup in, you can do that under custom order, but this prototype one, they decided to do these Filtertron style. Looks like they're labeled Mojo UK. But what I found increasingly fascinating is how they decided to mount these. Normally, you don't actually need a dog ear pickup cover in order to secure these. They just have two screws right here. This is pretty much just cosmetic as far as I can tell. It's to give it kind of a high-end archtop vibe. Speaking of archtops, that's kind of the shape that they're going off of here. You could say it looks like a Les Paul, but honestly, this is more so Gretsch influenced. Like compare this to a White Penguin or a Duo Jet versus the Les Paul. It definitely looks more so like the Gretsch counterparts. And if you take a look at the knobs, they are definitely straight from the Gretsch realm of things. You've got the knurled area right here. All you're really missing is the G logo and the bedazzled jewel on top. But the golden knobs work really well with this finish, and here you can kind of see that checkerboard binding a little bit better too. But as far as our layout here, now this is quite fascinating. So stock from the factory, this particular one is top wrapped, and then they have a regular Nashville Tune-o-matic style bridge. Now to me, the intonation looks a little bit wonky. You don't have much room to go back, so did they really put that in the right location? I'm not sure. It's also possible it just wasn't set up when the photographer happened to do all the stock footage. But it's a cool gold finish that transitions into this kind of creamed out white, and I love that sharp V pattern. It's kind of like that cool demo shop guitar, the Zesty Tuxedo SG as they called it. But obviously this design has been around way before that. I'm just trying to give you some examples of where else this has been used. But the entire body is crafted out of mahogany. And if you watch your video here, they say they prefer to use a two-piece body because they feel it's more stable, it's easier to use. And here you can see what it looks like without all the electronics and stuff on it. Again, you can custom order this with P90 pickups, and then they won't put those dog ears over top of it. Oh, staple Alnico soap bar P90s. I'd be interested to see what that looks like. Are they actually talking seriously Alnico 5, like super archy jazz top? That would be great, because that would make it look more so Gibson-esque rather than the Gretschy vibes. If you were to start with this, you would either have to cut this a little bit more to put a regular P90 in, and that would just look strange. But I guess if you were to put like little jewels over top of that, it wouldn't look too bad. But moving on to the neck here, we have an ebony fretboard that appears to have some binding on it and block inlay. I believe it's true mother of pearl because they were saying that the orange logo is also done up in that. And if you really take a look at it, Orange's logo is very complex. He literally has to go through and carve each and every single one of those things out to make sure it fits perfectly. But it does look fantastic, especially since they have the checkerboard binding on the headstock as well. I guess the only place they really let us down on that is, maybe the neck. With enough dedication and will, it's possible, but it doesn't look like we have it on here. And it's labeled the AE1, and it looks like maybe Grover tuners on this one. Yep, that is correct. And the neck also appears to be made out of mahogany, and they're using a tusk nut. Okay, it's kind of a cool guitar. Like, if you were to purchase one of these and Orange goes on to create this big custom shop of guitars that are highly successful, yeah, this could be a great investment. Otherwise, it might just be an anomaly. I mean, I would review and demo this guitar just because, it's kind of cool. You don't normally associate electric guitars with Orange. And it seems like they're trying to make the best guitar that they can. Without electronics, the one that they created was about 5.5 pounds, so fully assembled, between 7 to 7.5 is what they're shooting for. And luckily for us, they did record some audio demos of this instrument, so let's go ahead and take a listen to a few of these while appreciating this guitar. What an interesting piece, right guys? But you remember, I said there's been multiple guitars of Orange. This is the first one that I think is custom shop level, at least that I'm aware of. But I wanted to take a look at a few more of them. Look at this thing. A viewer of the show sent me this website, jedistar.com, and asked me to take a look at this thing. And it's like, yes, thank you for sending that in, because I've been wanting to talk about that custom shop one, but I wanted enough content to fill an entire episode, and I love the design of this. So apparently this instrument was purchased by a vendor in 1973, and then he used it for like his whole main gigging career. So it's got all this wear and tear to it. But we can safely assume that this was made in the early 70s. It even appears to have like a mid-70s style Gibson case with it. And on top of that, somebody has upgraded it with true Gibson humbuckers from 1972. You see, it's the one that has the embossed logo on them. So this set of pickups is worth at least $800. So those are T-tops, correct for the era. Looks like we have a Gibson ABR1 bridge on here with a heavily worn tailpiece, old style witch hat knobs. I mean, just looking at this whole thing and knowing the era that it came out of, it's like right when Gibson was experimenting with like the L6S. So you could say that this pickguard is vaguely similar to that, but in the early 80s, Gibson actually created a guitar very similar to this, and that would be called the 335S. Now, there's been about 4 iterations of this guitar over the years, but I've documented pretty much all of them on the channel. You can check out these reviews and demos if you would like to learn more. But these came way after this. But at the same time, the 335S was just a 335 turned into a solid body design. So you can't really say Gibson copied them, but maybe they saw it at some point in time and said, hey, maybe that would be cool to do too. But some other interesting features on this one is the dot inlays. For some reason, that tiny 12th fret inlay just makes me go, huh, that's interesting, because normally the dots are way farther apart depending on which brand you normally see. But then up here at the headstock, it actually has a 0 fret, so this nut really is only to get the strings in at a straight angle right here, because once you fret down, you're actually on that. So there are some pros and cons to 0 fret guitars. I'll let you do your own research and try them out to see which one you like. Essentially, the worst thing about them is this fret will wear out and you'll have to replace it eventually. But I mean, is it really that much more difficult than having to replace a nut? I don't know. It was just popular in this particular time period. And that headstock, it's very basic but bold and says Orange in this great big print. And there's some like beautiful ironicness that there's absolutely nothing orange on this guitar too. This just looks nice to me. I would play this guitar. And then when you flip over to the back, you've got those early style tuners that you would see on Gibsons around like 1972-ish. A Schaller made Grover style button. But take a look at this. Giant volute. I mean, in Gibson territory, we were in volutes for about 4 years by 73, but they weren't quite that big yet. This really looks like a late 70s Gibson volute. And then the neck has just been beautifully worn in. Kind of an interesting heel join right here. They've got some of it kind of shaved off, as it looks like the neck joins to the body right here, but then it had a little bit of a taper to allow them to get higher up in the fretting registers. It's just kind of a basic double cutaway guitar. You could also say this took some Gretsch influences, like the double jet, but man, this thing is just beautiful. But if you think it's a huge missed opportunity that Orange has never made an orange guitar, well, about 6 or 7 years ago, they did. Now, it's hard to find photos of these, so I think there might have been a cease and desist or something, I'm not sure. But they made like a beginner bundle pack here that included an electric guitar, as well as an amplifier, a branded gig bag, all the things that you would need for stuff. So kind of like the Glary or Donner sets that we've reviewed recently. And brand new, they were about $350 and were first available in October of 2014. Now, searching these things up, first off, it's hard simply because, Orange normally brings up amps, but I was able to find a few. So first off, here's this one that sold for around $600 total. It's yellow? What? No, that's just the sun. Angry Mr. Sun makes it look like this in the photos. And then it also makes the headstock look white, which is true and kind of interesting. I like it. And apparently you get a bonus fly on the E. I think that's just this photo. Not all of them will have that. But this just looks like a basic guitar, Chinese import. Nothing super high quality, just looking at the nut. That tells you half the things you need to know. It's also a bolt-on neck. So really, I'm sure a Glary or Donner would be much better than this instrument. But it's kind of got a cool vibe to it, similar to reasons that we've been talking about this whole episode. And the tuners are even branded orange, but they just look like the really cheapy style tuners. But the orange cable and tuner and branded strap, kind of a nice touch. You can tell that is not the nicest strap in the world or the best gig bag, but it's a part of history if you really enjoy the Orange brand. And apparently they also made non-orange ones. Here's one that's black, and this is pretty much a one-for-one replica of a Les Paul body shape. The headstock's different, so they probably got away with it. Maybe there just wasn't much demand for these. But you'll notice, even on this black one, the inlays are orange. That's a nice touch. But in doing research for these, I also found basses, and these are available right now on Reverb from a shop in Canada. They want almost $700 for it. I don't know if it's worth that much, but very similar to kind of their custom shop design with that lame horn right here. And then kind of a P-bass style layout here with a modified pick guard. It doesn't look like it's worth $700 to me, but again, it's just the novelty factor of an Orange. So troglodytes, I hope you enjoyed taking a look at these Orange instruments with me today. And if nothing else, you're aware that Orange has made electric guitars in the past and present. Thank you for tuning in today. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and we will catch you tomorrow on the next episode. Take care.